Hello everyone, and welcome back to Let's Play Pathfinder Kingmaker. I'm your host, Close Fate. It's episode 5, and we are in the old Sycamore caves. So something very interesting happened. We'll get to it. Right now, our party has to level up. And so before we get going about this, I'm going to very quickly talk about the fact that I recorded this whole entire episode, well, most of it, and unfortunately my voice didn't record. The microphone was muted, which really stinks. So as I go through here, I'm just going to talk about one of the more interesting parts of this whole process here is the level up. My character, as you know, is going to be a battle mage of a sort, an eldritch knight. So he needs 4 levels of knife master before he moves on to taking his mage levels, his 5 mage levels. And so that's what we're going to do with him. And so from this point out on the video, what I'm going to do is basically speed everything up, double time it, and make it go twice as fast. He's going to specialize in kukris. We're going to give him 2 weapon fighting. What we're not going to do is put a second weapon in his hand, because you can see that his base attack is going to go from +6 to +4 and +3 for his second attack. So even though he gets a second attack, we've had trouble hitting. And so what we're going to do is just leave him with a single attack for now instead of 2 attacks that are basically at -2 and -3. Lindsay's very simple. What we want to do is give her lingering performance. And the reason for this is because it makes the buff that she's putting on via her song last for 2 extra turns after it quits. So what's really nice about this is that she can sing a song in 1 turn. And if you think a fight is going to be pretty short, you can just have her turn it on and off. And then it lasts for 3 turns. And that saves her uses of it, which is really effective for her. And then when it comes to picking a spell, I tend to go for most of the enchantment ones for her, the ones that are really useful. Haze of Dreams is almost like misnamed. It's really just a slow spell. It makes characters move half as fast. It's not terribly effective. But Hideous Laughter, if you can land it now, it's all the mites in this dungeon are immune to it. It doesn't work on them, but it's pretty good for low-level characters. It's a very effective way to handle them. I like it a lot when it hits. So with Harim, the first thing is his charisma is low. It's 10. He needs a 13 before he can use channel, before he can use selective channel. So if you go down here and take a look at all the things that you can't do, selective channel lets you channel. So if you're channeling positive energy to heal people like on your team, it won't heal your enemies. And if you are doing damage to damage undead, it won't damage any of your party. It's a very nice thing, but he needs a 13. The cool part about it is you can put a circlet on, and even though it's a temporary and something you can take off, you can actually put it back on him. Blind Fight is something he's going to need later. Everybody needs it by about level 8. But the real important thing here is a lot of his domain spells are necromancy. So what we're going to do is we're going to start pumping up his spell focus and necromancy, so that all these various things that he can do with his domain spells are actually going to end up being useful. Otherwise, he just ends up with a bunch of domain spells that never land, which is kind of stinky. Now, when it comes to this particular character, I clicked on Scaled Fist there on Monk. Valerie's eventually going to get Scaled Fist, and it's going to add her charisma modifier to her AC bonus. By the end of the game, she had a 57 AC for me, the time that I beat the game, and with a 57 AC, she was wearing a robe. So she won't need armor. But for right now, early in the game, because her charisma bonus isn't that high, and that bonus only goes every 3 levels, every 4 levels, you get +1. So what you want to do is keep her in. She's got the 1 level in Tower Shield Specialist, and she's got 1 level in Vivisectionist for sneak attack. So we're going to give her Slayer. She's going to end up going mostly Slayer through her career, and she's going to end up doing a whole lot of damage. We're going to give her a glaive later on. She's going to specialize in the glaive as a reach weapon, and so that's why we're not going to give her weapon focus right now, is because there is no glaive for her to wield, so it would be a problem. But you want her to eventually have Dazzling Display and Dreadful Carnage. So you can see you need Dazzling Display, Strength of 15 to power attack. It's really awesome because with her charisma modifier and with her points put into persuasion, she is going to be a wrecking ball. She's going to have that effect from Dreadful Carnage land on so many enemies, and it's going to be great. So for right now, instead of giving her weapon focus, we're going to give her accomplished sneak attack so she can just do more damage. Next, she'll get weapon focus in the glaive, and that'll be fantastic. And then we get to this person. With Amiri, she is going to go Slayer the whole entire way, but really what we want to do with her, she's got the same thing, Barbarian 1 and Alchemist 1 for Vivisectionist. You want to go Barbarian up to 5 to get her improved Uncanny Dodge. And so we do the same thing here, give her Accomplished Sneak Attacker. We're going to also want to weapon focus her as well, and I'm partial to the Bardiche because there's a very nice Bardiche at the end of the game, and the other reason is because the Fauchard is superior because it has a bigger crit range, but it's hard to find good Fauchards in the game. So I think the Bardiche is the way to go because there are actually more Bardiches. Lethal Stance and Reckless Stance are kind of like two of the same thing, except one of them gives you a minus penalty to AC. I think the reason the other one, this one says attack rolls, Reckless Stance, so I think the reason to take it would be if you were going to use ranged attacks, whereas Lethal Stance only works for melee and throwing things. But Lethal Stance to me is the superior option here. Swift Foot is also great. You're going to want to take a couple of those. She can really move around the field a lot. It adds 10 meters every single time, and you can take it 3 times. But for right now, we'll grab Lethal Stance so she can have a +1,
I'm hungry.
which is really nice. And so then it comes into this point where I'm looking to camp. So we're going to speed things up a little bit here. The camera rotation, really nice. That's from the mod. You got to have... It's the only mod that I use. It's the only mod installed. The problem with it is it's not on by default each time you load up the game. So you actually have to open the mod, the toolkit or whatever it's called, and turn it on. So with this, for the rest of this, now here's what happened. This whole time I was doing my narration and I thought my microphone was on and it wasn't. And it's really a shame because I have now a dual monitor system. And OBS is open in the window right next to me. And it should be really clear to be able to see that A, it's recording, and B, my microphone is on. But for some reason, I went brain dead, which was a real shame. So I think what I'm going to do at this point in time is speed this up even more because not a lot interesting happens from this point on. So we'll see exactly what this is like with this on really, really fast. But I don't want to have to do 50 minutes of commentating again when I've already done it. The interesting thing is so we have plenty of camping supplies. We have 10. We can actually sleep here twice with our party of 5. And I rearranged everybody so I could get the superior night people on watch. And then Lindsay ends up actually having a better bonus for the whole team. It gives +2 to everybody else that's doing something. So the squirrels are talking. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let's do something different with that.
Lindsay, what are you writing so diligently there? And why are you looking at me like that? Did you decide to write me an ode, too?
You got it. Here it is. Listen. There once lived a paladin of Shaylin, whose courage was so unfailing. Hey, that's my ink pot. Don't throw it at me.
So the +2 for Lindsay grants to everybody else. The only other thing that's going on in the camp is the people on night watch. So if they're at a +9 and a +7, they become a +11 and a +9, which is really nice. And we're going to be up here in our first fight real soon. We're just clearing them out. There's a lot of mites here. So and because we're about to start a fight, what I'm going to do is slow down the game because otherwise all of their character animations and Harim's cries of despair sound like a bunch of chipmunks. So this is a fight that doesn't go well for me, I think, initially. Because there's a priest that I didn't see. I'm going through here and I'm looking and I'm trying to see if there's a priest at all because they're the ones that are a complete disaster. So we're delaying everybody because really the ideal way to do this is to have Lindsay buff everybody and then have everybody swing their weapons. But if you have a priest that shows up and starts doing its damage living thing, it's a big area spell, it can pretty much wipe you out in a few turns. So she's going to do her inspired courage stuff because that's the best part for her. I have no idea what I was thinking at this point in time other than just do it, girl. And she needs to take a 5-foot step and get the hell out of the way so this thing doesn't whack her. And Harim is a good sheep meat shield for her. And some of these fights down here you can do on real time with pause and just let them go whack stuff. I tend not to do it until everybody's important spells and healing and everything is kind of exhausted, until she's done. And you can see when Amari hits, it's nice. The problem is she still misses a lot, and it's really that gigantic bastard sword of hers. Her to hit is pretty awful compared to everybody else, so it's not fun. And then Valerie is just she's not even fighting defensively, and she tends not to fight very well. So get rid of the centipedes because they can poison, and she managed to hit that one, which is really nice of her to finally be, you know. And she's got studied target, so since all the enemies tend to group up on her and come right next to her within melee range, it's a really good idea for her to study target each one of them because it gives her a +1. Actually, I think this is the group we got through pretty easily. It might be the next one where it happens, where we get this priest that I didn't see, and I was like, oh no, and I basically had to load the game and start over. So that happens a couple times in here in this episode. So what happens is I recorded like a whole long hour episode with no voice. I got to the end and I was like, well, okay, I'll tell you what I'll do. I know I'm going to speed up portions of this, so I'm going to tack a little 30-minute section on the end of it. So this video might be long by the time it's done. He uses that, he gets attacked. That's a really neat spell, Touch of Chaos. What it makes the enemy do basically is when it's attacking, it's got to roll 2 dice and take the worst roll. So it's a very nice thing to do to help keep like Valerie upright and stuff. And he tends to hit with it pretty often too, which is kind of nice. The biggest problem for him really with using that spell is sometimes, I don't know if it's just bad luck or what, but there'll be enemies that'll roll like a 15 and they'll have to roll again and they'll roll a 14 and both of them are hits. So the spell didn't matter. You know, it's not like they ever roll a 17 and then a 3. There's never this big disparity. Like if you check the rolls in the log over there on the right, it'll show them as being like, you know, they rolled a 6 and a 3, or they rolled a 17 and an 18, and it's like, oh brother. And so, you know, we get into these situations where we're missing a lot, where we're rolling in the single-digit rolls and the enemies are rolling in the teens. And it happens quite a bit, and a couple of times it happens in some pretty frustrating situations. But going back to my earlier point, which was, I really don't, I enjoy the turn-based play of these games so much more than the real time with pause. So the only time I'm really doing it is when I'm like trying to clear out a bunch of centipedes or something, and I know everybody can hit him and nobody's gonna die. With the mites, kind of like to keep things a little more strategic. And she gets rocked, and suddenly this fight that I thought that was going to be super easy is not being easy.
You deserve
Lindsay every now and then getting a crossbow off a shot that hits somebody. Amari is just a powerhouse when she hits. The problem is she just doesn't hit nearly enough for a character that I consider a fighter type. That changes later, of course. Her, much like Valerie, start to get way better at smacking things. Valerie, right now, you can see she had a -2 for a tower shield because she's wearing a tower shield. Later on, when we give her the glaive, that goes away, and she has much better to hit with the glaive, and because she gets weapon focus and weapon specialization in it. So she ends up being a right awesome force of nature there. Harim. He misses.
Your life ebbs low.
any last wishes.
And she misses again.
Bring it!
So there's a whole lot of missing going on, and it's just like, The other thing that's nice about her having the glaive, you know, the reach weapons are really, really nice. I like it when she's got a glaive and Amari's got a bardiche, and they can hit stuff from range, and you can put things like skeletons in between them, which becomes necessary later. Harim's gonna have to conjure skeletons in certain places to work as a buffer layer, so that they don't get mangled, but it works out pretty well. And she rolls a 2, so.
Let us strike as one.
And I miss. So, you know, if you're rolling a 5 and you've only got a +6, then it doesn't make any sense to have 2 weapons and roll a +4 and +3. So, at this point in time, we'll speed up the rest of the party and get them up to their next particular encounter. This is just a lot of map clearing, which is far more interesting when you're actually playing it. But then when you have to go retroactively through and add your own vocals to it, it's like, oh, darn. Gonna make sure my microphone is on for every episode after the fact. There's a whole lot of inventory management going on here as we're trying to figure out what to do. I had all these potions, and I didn't have them on people. And I was like, oh no, why not? So there's the map. There's still lots of room to go. Lots of stuff to uncover. I was looking for pieces on the ledge here to see if there was a stepping stone to a lower level. There's a lower level to the old Sycamore caves, the old Sycamore depths, and that's what we're trying to get through. We have to go to the Queen to get there. You don't have to. There's a second way to get down there. And after clearing the map, that kind of becomes the priority. So you can see what we're doing here. This is kind of fun watching it at 300 speed. Quick saving our way through here. This is entertaining. So there's a bunch of... Yeah, here is... Let's see. Here is the entrance. I'm just going to let it go really fast through this part. Because this is one of the few times I'm turn-basing this for just these centipedes. But the centipedes themselves are... If there's any encounter in here where you can just turn the turn-based mode off and just let it run real time with pause, this is it. Nice sneak attack. But this little door symbol at the top of the screen, this is the one place you can go to get down to the depths. And I may just go through that on the next episode. I may go through there instead of trying to go through the Queen. It may be wise because it may get us more experience. Because the thing is, I can't remember if you actually can get to level 5 in the old Sycamore or not. I wish I could remember that, but it's my memory is completely fuzzy. So here's an encounter where we surprise them, so you get to move up forward. And this is the one where I'm looking around and I can't see the Might Priest, and I just rolled my mouse over it and missed it. So this goes very, very badly. So what I'm going to do is cut out the very, very badly part, and then we're going to skip to the successful encounter. Okay, I take it back. We're not going to fast forward through anything. Now I understand a few more things that happened with this video. This video is a mess, and I apologize, folks. Episode 5 is a complete disaster because of the way it got recorded. The party makes it through this, amazingly. But the biggest mistake was when I was sitting there going around with the mouse looking for the mites to try to see. I should have used the initiative bar at the top to manually check each one and find the priest and go straight for him. And I didn't do that. I just moved the mouse around on the board and was looking like, where's the priest? Where's the priest? Is there a priest? And I didn't think there was one. And of course he does that. And now I realize that there is a huge problem and we have to go kill him before he can do that too many times. If I would have known that, I would have taken that first turn when we have free initiative to just move before they get a go. I would have taken that first turn and got people over there on him. And now you see there's too many mites for me to run through, which becomes a huge problem. But this whole episode is such a mess. I'm glad we're fast forwarding through certain chunks of it. What happens is after this fight, apparently, I stopped recording. So not only did I start the recording without my voice work, I stopped it way too early, which is insane. But thankfully, I had recorded another part after it, anticipating that I was going to splice it onto the end of this video. So we should get the second half of this video should be much better than the first. Anyway, what I'm trying to do now is I figure Amari is the one chance I have to kill this priest fast. Of course, I was wrong about that. She only takes a little tiny bit of damage there to get her over there. And it's like, okay, she's my best fighter. She does the most damage. She's going to go barbarian style and miss. Of course, she's going to miss. I mean, if she hits this guy 2 times in a row, she probably kills him. But instead, she completely misses. She whiffs her first attack, and if we were doing Vegas betting odds, you would not very good odds for her whiffing again, because she's gonna whiff again. Meanwhile, this thing is doing untold damage to my party. My character's about to die, and this is right about the time when I start to remember that, oh yeah, Lindsay actually has Cure Light Wounds, so I should probably use her to heal. Meanwhile, Valerie's just figuring out who can she hit.
Let us strike as
So
one.
she can actually hit that character. That's nice. She hits that might. And Lindsay becomes the thing where I'm like, okay, if you hold down control, you can get her close. You got to get him close enough, because if you don't get him close enough and you try to cast the spell, then they just hold on to it until the next turn, which is really lame. And then getting it to actually cast the next turn can be kind of hard. So she's going to heal him to try to keep him on his feet, but that means that we really, really need Amari to do some damage. It would have been nice if she could have crit this guy, but instead she rolls a 6 versus a 9, and for the second time in a row she misses. So that guy would almost be dead if she would have hit him twice. Instead she missed twice. She rolled what, like a 5 and a 6? Pathetic. That's one of those times when if you were playing Wrath of the Righteous, you would have put luck on her so that she could roll twice and take the higher result. But we don't have that ability right here. So, and then of course there's Harim, who can't do a lot of damage, but he can hit for whatever lucky reason he's having right now in the early game. So that thing decks me, and I'm down. The Cure Light Wounds couldn't save me, which is a shame. Which is a crying, dirty shame.
Do not falter.
And there's Valerie coming in. She's not her offensive juggernaut self yet, but at least she can hit once in a while. It's really nice when you get the glaive on her and she can go to town. And I'm just trying to figure out anything to do with Lindsay to help, you know, like, can I stun this guy at all? Fortitude save made by 1 point, I think there. That's just, you know, bad luck. She finally hits him. Rolling a 13. Which was nice. He's going to miss because he's going to critically miss. Which is not the first time he does that. And I know. We're dying because of those priests. It's awful. The thing I've never been able to quite understand is they're channeling, but I thought that sort of channel only affected undead, and none of us are undead. But it's like, I need to look at that more carefully. It's got to be some kind of damage living spell or something. Anyway. Lindsay, you need to take a 5-foot step and back away.
You deserved it.
She almost hits the other might way over there. So, it's the third miss, another 6. That's the second one she's rolled. And Harim's going to miss, rolling an 8. But here's the nice thing. It's going to try to cast a spell. It's going to cast Hold Person on her, which it does successfully, but they get their attacks of opportunities and they finally kill the damn thing.
Stay behind me.
The lesson is, of course, find the Might Priest first. Kill it as fast as possible, and if you can all buff Amari, do it. So the party's done. We're super wounded. I think what I do here is use Harim to channel to get us enough health so that we can get out of here. So what I decided to do at this point in time is go all the way back to Oleg's, because we're also getting over encumbered. We're very heavy, and I want to take a lot of that gear back and sell it, and it ends up bringing in a hefty chunk. So what I'm going to do at this point in time is, again, speed the video so we can kind of plow through this. It's about this point in time in this particular play. You can see the dungeon. We're in the old Sycamore Caves. It's pretty extensive down here, but there's a lot of centipedes. And so for these centipede battles, some of them, like this one, I'm still doing in turn-based mode. Sounds very funny with the music and stuff, but these are really the only creatures in this whole dungeon, if you get a pack of them like this, that you can just take off the turn-based mode and turn real-time with pause on and just let them storm through, right? And I do that later. I can't remember if it's this episode or not. It's funny listening to the chipmunks, but that's the group moving up here. It's so much nicer with the camera rotation mod. Okay, so here is a battle for which I'm going to slow down again because it's not the centipedes, so deal with this and move everybody around and try to make the most use of our bard's ability to add +1 to everything. Oh, is this? I'm trying to figure out which fight this is. It's a little different sometimes when you're watching the screen. Because to watch this playback, I have to watch it on DaVinci, which is the program that I use to actually build these videos with. And sometimes the screen is quite small because, you know, it's an editor. So you're sitting there looking at a whole bunch of different things, a whole bunch of different panels on this editor, which kind of hog your screen real estate. So what do we have over here? Mites. And unfortunately, none of Lindsay's more advanced spells are helpful here. Because her spells don't affect mites. Now they affect the kobolds. Oh, and I should mention, I had been puzzled throughout this whole entire Sycamore playthrough. I had been puzzled as to why I was having to fight both the mites and the kobolds. And somebody left a comment, and I forget the name now, but somebody left a very helpful comment that said, you have to have some kind of neutral alignment in order to get the option to get these guys to not fight each other. And that's why it was a little strange to me, because I almost always play this game with a lawful neutral alignment to start, but I didn't this time. And so that's why we're fighting everything. And that's not too bad, because it actually gives me an opportunity here to play the game in turn-based mode and kind of get used to this team again, because it had been so long since I had started this. I started this playthrough, I want to say I started it maybe in February, and I recorded the first 2 or 3 episodes. And then a whole slew of games came along and things happened, and I had to put it on the back burner. And there's literally been just like a ton of games coming out, and May is the worst. May is the worst. You're going to watch this at the end of May, and there are so many games coming in. Like right about the time this video hits, within a few days, we're going to get the System Shock remake coming out. There has been, gosh, what else was released? Something was just released today from the same developers who made Mutant Year Zero. I can't remember. Oh, the Miasma Chronicles just released as I'm doing the voiceover for this for the second time. So that just came out, and I just got a free key for Vagras, which is a game that is a lot like War Tales without all the 3D graphics. So I'm very interested to play that game. So it's just one game after another, and when you don't do this as a full-time job, when you don't have all day to play video games like Mortissimo Gaming does, because it's his full-time job now, is to review video games, then you only have so much time. So a lot of things got put off the side, and I kept looking at those files. They're sitting there in my main directory where I store all my video files before they get edited. And I kept looking at those first couple episodes, and I'd go back periodically and I'd watch them and be like, I really like this and I want to put this on my channel. I want to get the whole game on my channel. So sometimes I'd think about deleting them, and then I'd start watching it, that first episode, and I'm like, nope, I'm right. These companions are fantastic, and this game is really good when you can get beyond the difficult parts of it. And I want to play this. So it was just a matter of trying to find some time. So here it is now, 3-4 months later after recording the first 2 episodes, and it was good for me to record this episode, for instance, and just get used to playing the game again in a pretty risk-free environment. Although Harim right now, being in the red on his health bar, I'm sure is not thinking that this is risk-free at all. The Might Butcher. It's like, what are you going to do here, bud? And so this is the decision for him, is do you take a turn here and try to make it so that he can't hit anybody? And he hits him with that, which is nice. So he's going to roll twice and have to take the lower result. But like I've said many times, I have the worst luck with that spell, because frequently enemies end up doing things like rolling a 17 and an 18. And that actually happens a few times in this game as well. So this guy, they got the biggest mouth. It's like a gremlin, except even, yeah, and then he falls down. Oh no, that's no good. Does he die here? I don't think anybody dies here. I don't think I have to reload this, do I? This is so weird watching it all over again. It's like, how did I get out of this mess? And she just doesn't have any options other than to take a 5-foot step and try to shoot somebody, so.
Serves you right.
The Might Butcher. I mean, I really need my 2 big, strong people and me with the dagger to kill some things. And that helps. Amari is the disappointing one. She's got a giant sword. She's a barbarian, and she just keeps whipping. It's like, girl, what is wrong with you? Hoping to stab that guy and only do a measly 4 points of damage. And that's when I decided to get out of the way wisely and drink a potion. It's like, okay. And that guy falls down, which is nice. I keep thinking that they're just going to attack Harim and finish him off, but they don't. They decide to go after Valerie instead, which is kind of nice because it saves Harim. So this whole thing is looking really, really bad. Yeah, and then I remember, oh, I have a scroll of cure moderate wounds. If I can get over there on Valerie, I can use it. So you got to have this so close because it's got to be in your ring there. Your ring of influence. But that right there is kind of the move, I think, that starts to save the day here. She's like, okay, I can hit. Which one of you is going to go next and doesn't have a lot of hit points? This is what you're trying to do, is just remove pawns off the board, right? It's like, okay, that one has the least amount of hit points right there. So it would make more sense to try to kill him if you can hit him. Stay behind me. Which she does. So it's one more that can't hit. She can hit that one, but he's already fallen down. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense for her to try to hit one that's already immobilized. So I start thinking, what I'm thinking here is this just becomes a matter of crowd control. And again, removing pawns off the board. The grease has removed somebody off the board. So if she can hit somebody, which she's been terrible at, she can do something amazing, which is take another one off the board. And she does that. So that was nice. And then I'm thinking, I don't have a lot of hit points. I probably can't kill that guy, but I do. 14 sneak attack damage. So he's down. So the only guy who's left is this dude on the ground. And he doesn't try to get up. What I probably should have done there is move Lindsay over to heal Harim. But I didn't. This thing's almost over, so. Let us strike as one. Oh, and she just whiffs. She rolls a 3. Bring it. And she rolls a 4. It's just one bad number after another. Of course, the good news is we're all standing next to this fool. So if I don't kill him, he's going to try to get up, and we are going to kill him then. But that works. It's probably a waste to use potions or scrolls of heal light wounds at that point in time. I probably should have just camped, although I can't remember if I had any camping supplies or not. So.
And Lindsay was called for.
And Lindsay was called for. So then, let's get these guys out of here. So speed this back up. And work the group out of this place. Right away, she falls down. The fun part is, further into this dungeon, there are some pretty angry skeletons who are much higher levels. So you kind of got to get your stuff together here and make a level. I thought it was a really smart move by the developers here to put the old Sycamore, this 2-level dungeon plus the big exterior, as one of the first locations that you run into in the game. It's smart because it makes people say, oh, it's classic Dungeons and Dragons. But it's also a little bit of a lie. And I say that meaning this is atypical of the whole game. Now, there are some dungeons. There is the Dwarven Fortress being used as a troll dungeon, and there are a few other dungeons in the game, but they're not, I guess, the major part of the game. This is a fence here that I learned. I'm like, oh, you can't go past that. What you actually have to do is, on the other side of the fence, you can almost see it, there's a cart, and you have to take the cart and roll it down in there, and it crushes the fence. So at this point in time, it's like, there's nowhere else to go here, so we got to go up. But anyway, this is a great dungeon. It's huge, it's big, it's caves, it looks good. There's a bunch of people to fight. It's really nice. It's the kind of thing when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons that, or Pathfinder, that you're thinking, this is what I want to do. I want to have fun doing this. And unfortunately, this is not really the blueprint for what the whole game is. I can't even remember here if this is the point where I stop using turn-based. I say, oh, they're all centipedes. Let's just go kill them without turn-based mode. Nope, I'm still using turn-based. Oh, now I turned it off. Okay, here we go. Things are gonna tear it apart. Things are gonna get cranky there.
I'm listening.
But I like it, and I just wish there would have been fewer of the little tiny zones in this game with 1 or 2 encounters on them. They're really small little maps. What I call the Storm of Zahir maps. I wish they could have reduced the number of those maps by 80%. And then instead just rolled with things like Vorticai's Tomb, and there's a couple of big outdoor zones with the Cyclopses and stuff like that. I mean, I still feel like the way that Baldur's Gate 2 was designed with its very specific areas that you had to travel to, and then they're pretty big maps that lead to pretty big dungeons, along with 3 dragon encounters that were really awesome. The whole Lord Jeardan Firecrag thing is one of my favorite experiences in any video game ever. I would have liked to seen this game go in that direction. I think that's one way it would have made the game better. And of course, because they had all these little tiny maps that they reused over and over and over with the encounters, I think they felt compelled to have to build an encounter on it. And so they built a quest for it, basically. At any rate, this is the end of the episode. I'm just looking through my group right now. But this is where I end the episode, is they're going to leave. They're going to go outside. And I'm going to march my way all the way up to Oleg's Rest and take care of my group and sell some junk. So that's going to be the end of this episode, folks. If you dig it, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, leave your questions and comments down below. Consider supporting the Patreon. It's in the description below. I know with the speed ups, it makes the video a little bit shorter. I apologize for just the mess that this episode 5 is, but it does get way, way better. So thanks for sticking with me. See me on the next one. And as always, happy gaming.